partnerships will determine the economic trajectory of our continent and indeed the world. Periods of profound change are rare in history. They are the times when nations must decide whether they will merely respond to change or whether they will shape it. So we gather today during such a moment when the winds of change are moving across continents, when the architecture of global economy is quietly being rewritten, and when nations everywhere are searching for the next horizon of growth, stability, and possibility. This is not a season of hesitation, it's a season of strategic clarity. Supply chains are shifting, capital is searching for new frontiers of opportunity. Markets are reconfiguring themselves in response to technology, geopolitics, and the relentless march of innovation. Yet amid all these changes, the world is rediscovering something that Africa has always known, that the chapter or the next chapter of global economic expansion will not be written in one region alone. It will be written across continents, and Africa will be one of its central authors. Ladies and gentlemen, the countries that will shape this new era will not be those that merely observe change, but those that prepare for it, those that organize for it, and those that invest ahead of it. History consistently rewards nations that recognize change early and organize themselves to lead it. Those that hesitate are forced to adapt to systems designed by others. Those that prepare become the architects of the future. Africa today stands at the intersection of demographic momentum, technological transformation, and economic awakening. Our continent is home to more than 1 billion people, and over the coming decades, that number will grow significantly. By the middle of this century, 1 in every 4 people on Earth will be African, a demographic force that will reshape the global economy itself. Ladies, gentlemen, men and women who may not be as gentle, this is not merely a statistic. It's a force that will reshape labor markets, a force that will reshape consumer demand, that will reshape innovation, and that will reshape geography of global growth. It means that decisions taken here in Africa will increasingly influence outcomes far beyond Africa. The philosopher Aristotle observed, I quote, "The energy of the mind is the essence of life." Africa today possesses that energy, and it possesses it in abundance. It lives in the ingenuity of our entrepreneurs, in the courage of our farmers, in the ambition of our young innovators, and in the quiet determination of millions of Africans who wake up each morning determined to build a future for their families and indeed a future for their countries. And when human energy is aligned with sound institutions, with productive capital, and with strategic policy, it becomes not only a social force, but an economic force of historic consequence. Yet, demographics alone do not produce prosperity. A demographic dividend becomes real only when matched with opportunity, when matched with enterprise, and when matched with investment. Africa, therefore, stands before a defining choice. And this choice, whether our demographic rise becomes a burden of unemployment or a renaissance of productivity, of innovation, and of global leadership. The difference between the two futures will not be by chance. It will be by policy, by the will to execute, and by leadership, good leadership, leadership with integrity, leadership with competence, leadership with responsibility. And again, history has repeatedly shown that nations do not rise by accident. They rise when leadership aligns vision, policy, capital, and people around a common direction. One of the major constraints standing between African businesses and global markets is the persistent trade finance gap. The gap is not an abstract financial concept. It's a container that never ships, a factory that never scales, a farmer whose harvest never reaches distant markets, and a young entrepreneur whose first export order becomes a lost opportunity. It is in effect a break, a halt on productivity, a tax on ambition, and a silent constraint on structural transformation. Closing this gap, therefore, is not a technical exercise in finance. It's a strategic requirement for economic transformation. Every successful industrial economy in history has been supported by financial systems capable of backing its entrepreneurs, capable of scaling its industries, and capable of connecting its producers to global markets. For Africa, this constraint is particularly consequential. Across our continent, small and medium-scale enterprises form the backbone of employment, and increasingly they power our export potential. And if we are serious about export diversification, about moving up the value chain, and about creating meaningful jobs for our people, then we must also be serious about building the financial infrastructure that makes trade possible. We need institutions that understand our unique risks and our unique opportunities, institutions capable of identifying entrepreneurs at the earliest stages, capable of nurturing them, mentoring them, cultivating their ideas, and providing patient capital as they grow. The future prosperity of Africa will depend not only on the brilliance of our entrepreneurs, but on the strength of the financial institutions and systems that support them, on the systems that reward enterprise, that recognize real opportunity and move beyond the punitive cost structures often referred to as the African premium. Despite these challenges, Africa's economic transformation is already underway. One of the most important developments of recent years has been the deepening of regional integration through the African Continental Free Trade Area. This initiative connects more than 50 countries into a single economic market of extraordinary scale and promise. Few developments hold greater long-term significance for Africa's productive transformation than the successful implementation of this continental market. The transformation that will unleash goes far beyond trade volumes. It will reshape production itself. It will allow African industries to build regional value chains where raw materials are processed locally, where manufacturing expands across borders, and African firms compete with confidence in global markets. Distinguished delegates, export diversification is Africa's insurance policy in an increasingly volatile economy. Long-term prosperity will come from processing, from manufacturing, from services, and from innovation. But integration cannot succeed without infrastructure. Roads, railways, ports, energy systems, and digital connectivity, they form the arteries through which modern commerce flows. Without them, opportunity remains distant. With them, opportunity accelerates and markets come alive. Yet the story of Africa's transformation cannot be written by increased trade, infrastructure, and capital alone. The deeper foundation of prosperity lies in values. Yes, values. Integrity, discipline, accountability. These are not moral luxuries. They are economic fundamentals. When integrity is weak, capital becomes hesitant. When integrity is strong, investment flows naturally. Trust lowers the cost of doing business, while good governance lowers the cost of capital. And when trust and governance are strong, economies are able to compound growth over generations. The most prosperous societies in history are not simply those with resources, but those with institutions that protect opportunity and reward productivity. And when investment flows with discipline and good governance, nations are able to transform natural wealth into lasting prosperity. That is how countries move from episodic growth to sustained development. Distinguished guests, allow me to share the experience of my own country, Botswana. Botswana's development journey is widely recognized as one of Africa's success stories. Yet Botswana is also honest about the challenges we have had and the challenges that lie ahead. Diamonds have served our nation with dignity, but they cannot carry us forever. That is why Botswana has embarked on the most ambitious reform programs in its modern history, the Botswana Economic Transformation Program. The Botswana Economic Transformation Program represents a decisive shift in our development strategy. It's designed to accelerate economic diversification. It's designed to mobilize private investment and reposition Botswana as a competitive, export-driven economy. It represents a shift from resource dependence towards capability-driven growth. It's guided by what we call our true north, a digitally enabled, export diversified, high-income Botswana, in which every citizen is employed, empowered, and fulfilled. The program emerged through an extensive consultative process that brought together government institutions, that brought together private sector leaders, development partners, citizens, regional and international investors. Let me just say, it brought everybody together. A total of 6,925 project ideas were submitted and rigorously filtered into a pipeline of 186 needle-moving transformational projects. But what makes Botswana Economic Transformation Program, let's name it BTEC. What makes BTEC different is not simply the ambition. It's not simply the ambition of its vision. The program is projected to mobilize more than 50 billion US dollars in investment by 2036. Envisaged to create more than 500 100,000 jobs and support Botswana's transition into a high-income economy. To the investors, financiers, and entrepreneurs gathered here today, I extend a simple invitation. Engage with the Botswana Economic Transformation Program. Explore the BTEP portal at www.btp.gov. Study the project pipeline. Bring us your capital. Bring us your technology. Bring us your market access, and indeed your ambition. And we will bring you discipline, coordination, speed, and a government determined to clear the path. Botswana is not merely open for business. Botswana is building a future. Through the Botswana Economic Transformation Program, the end goal is clear. The world will know Botswana not only for diamonds, because that's what you see when you see Botswana. But the world will now know our richness, the richness of our land, and the creativity of our people. The world will know the natural Murula lotion that beautifies skin across continents. It will know Botswana's moringa, one of nature's most powerful superfoods, fueling health and vitality. The world will know Botswana's honey, harvested from pristine ecosystems, carrying healing properties to global markets. The world will know our delicacy, Siswara, our traditional delicacy, not merely as a food, but as culture served on a plate. These are not abstractions. These are industries. These are brands waiting to reach the world. We are building on the confidence of our already existing successes, which include modern industrial and scientific capabilities. The Botswana Vaccine Institute is already supplying vaccines around Africa and around the world, strengthening animal health and safeguarding food systems. Why should this type of excellence not become a global brand in biotechnology and veterinary science? In the digital frontier, local champions such as DiTech are advancing technology solutions rooted in African innovation and identity. Botswana is now producing digital services, is building technological capability, is nurturing ecosystems that allow Africa not merely to pursue technology, but to create it. Distinguished delegates, the question before us today is not whether Africa will rise. The determination of our people has already answered that question. The real question is how quickly we can build the partnerships, the investments, and the systems required to accelerate that rise. I invite all of you to join us in building a truly bankable Africa and in shaping a future that the world will not merely witness, but will increasingly come to rely upon. And as I close, let me extend sincere appreciation to the organizers of this conference as you celebrate 20 years of steadfast dedication of convening leaders, shaping dialogue, and advancing thought leadership on Africa's economic future. For 2 decades, you have created a platform where ideas meet action and partnerships are born. May the conversations of the next 2 days spark investments, collaborations, and innovations that will help Africa, rather help shape Africa's economic future. And if we have the courage to build, the discipline to deliver, and the vision to belief in our continent, then the 21st century will not simply witness Africa's rise, it will be shaped by